Excellent, excellent, thank you.
All set.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dan Paternak. I'm the chair of the Aging Committee. Welcome to our monthly meeting of our committee. We're going to start this meeting with a roll call of committee members, and then thereafter, we're just going to do a brief walk around and have everyone else introduce themselves to the committee as well. Lisa, if you don't mind, can you begin roll call?
Yes, and hopefully I get all the members right. If not, we're all friends here. We'll swing it. So Margaret Della, you're here. I see you're on mute, but I do see. There you go. Hi, Margaret. Lisa Dow, I'm here, right? And Dan Paternak, the chair. Dan, okay. Myra Joyce, you're on the committee, right?
No, I'm not. I'm just visiting because I had a free hour.
Oh, wonderful.
Just kidding.
So welcome. Karen Pesh.
I'm here.
Great. And Sylvia Alexander, I don't see you unless you're on a phone. Not yet. Margaret Della, never mind.
Margaret is joined. Lisa. Margaret said she was joining the committee today.
Right, I already called Margaret Della, but I see there's also our other Margaret.
Margaret
Donato.
Donato's on.
Committee member, but thank you for joining us.
I'm here. I'm there.
See. I think that's it for the board member committee members.
Yep, that
Right.
sounds about right.
And there's many people on board. We can go around, Dan, since you're driving. I'll just sort of
That would be great, thank you.
quick. Lee Chong, do you want to just say hi?
I'm Lee Chung. I'm a resident of Spuyten Duyvil, and I'm the co-chair of the Social Action Committee of Riverdale Senior Services.
Great. We have our center heads here. Sharon, give a hi. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Okay, got it. I'm always on mute. Hi, I'm Sharon Asherman. I'm the director of the Older Adult Center at the Riverdale Y.
Great. And Julie?
Hi, Julie Dalton, Executive Director of RSS, Center for Ageless Living.
Great. And although not a center, a huge contributor to this group, Miriam.
Miriam Ravner. I'm a Riverdale resident, and I'm a cultural sensitivity and outreach coordinator for MJHS Hospice and Palliative Care.
Great. Also, I did see David Gelman, a board member. David, you're there? You're not visible and without sound, but you will join us, I'm sure. Margaret Donato, it was so nice to see you, that you're here. You'll have to unmute or jump in later. Margaret Donato is another board member.
No, I'll get.
We have Richard. Do you want to introduce yourself? You're on mute.
Richard who?
Ovali.
Oh, I see that. Right.
Okay. And no one has to speak. It's not required. Stephen, there's somebody named Stephen on the call. Would you like to say hi?
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Stephen. I am MSW student of Lehman College, but an intern at Rain Older Adult Center in Eastchester.
Great. Well, welcome, Stephen. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Let's see. Who else can I see? Oh, Mary Ellen Gibbs. You're on the call.
Hi, I'm Mary Ellen Gibbs. I work for River Spring Living Home Care Division. I'm also a Screen Actors Guild member. I'm on Traffic Transportation Committee also, and I want to join this committee also.
Wonderful.
And before I introduce or have the guests introduce themselves, I'll leave that to Dan, but we have a few people on iPhone or telephone. If you want to introduce yourself, I'm not sure if it's star. Oh, first, I'm sorry, Tanya, before you go. Tanya Ochoteco, introduce yourself.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Tanya Ochoteco, and I am the community coordinator at Bronx Community Board 8. Happy to be here.
Thanks, Tanya.
Great, thank you.
Lisa, did we get to Victoria?
Rita Lowe.
No,
Oh, Rita is here.
Victoria.
Okay, great. Rita is a member of the committee and the board. Anyone else on the
Lisa.
telephone? Oh, sorry,
Lisa.
I hear you.
Did we get to Victoria?
Victoria?
Yes.
Victoria, I didn't know if you were one of the speakers. I'm sorry, Victoria, would you?
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Victoria Yaboa. I'm a social work master student from Lehman College, and I intern at Rain Senior Center on the Boston East.
Oh, wonderful. Yay, Lehman. Thank you for joining. And Dan, I know we have a speaker here. Would you like?
Yes. Well, yeah. So,
Yana.
again, for those of you who chimed in, I'm sorry, I got stuck at work and I'm in the car. However, we do have Brianna Payton-Williams from Live On New York. Brianna, I know you're on the call. Do you want to introduce yourself and any other team members that might be with you?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Brianna Payton-Williams. I'm the Communications and Policy Associate at Live On New York, and it's nice to see everyone, and I'll be chatting about reframing aging shortly.
Okay, great. Do you have any other team members with you or just you?
Nope, it's just me today.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you for attending today. We certainly appreciate you coming out and speaking to the committee. So, we'll basically get right into it. The floor is yours if you'd like to begin your presentation.
Sure. So I'm going to share my screen. So could you give me access just to share my screen, please?
Okay,
I
think
Tanya, are you still on?
Yes.
Okay, can you give access?
Sure, I'll make you co-host.
Okay.
What is the name? I'm sorry, I don't have it. Hold on a second.
It's Brianna. It's Brianna Payton-Williams, and then you
Brianna,
could also
okay.
make Lisa a co-host as well.
Sure,
Thank you.
absolutely.
That cannot.
Dan, I'm going to try and stay on as long as I can, all right? It's Rita Lowe.
Okay, Rita, that would be great. Thank you.
Yes, okay, you're welcome.
Okay, so I just shared my screen.
Okay, great.
This full screen. Oops. And can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
It's visible? Okay, perfect. So once again, nice to meet everyone. I see some familiar faces from our members from Live On New York and some new faces, but it's great to meet everyone today. So like I said, my name is Brianna Payton-Williams. I'm the Communications and Policy Associate at Live On New York, but I am also a facilitator with the Reframing Aging Initiative. And so I will be giving just a brief introduction into the Reframing Aging Initiative, why it was launched here in New York City, and also some practical tips and tools and communication tools to provide to you all that you can start to incorporate into your work so you guys can become, reframers. And so just a little bit of background into the Reframing Aging Initiative. So this was an initiative launched last spring of 2021, really with the goal to counteract ageism, right, the discrimination based on aging, and to reframe how policymakers, stakeholders, and the public understand aging here in New York City. So we're all aging, right? We're all going through this natural process, yet unfortunately aging and how people understand aging is often a cycle of negative stereotypes, negative perceptions and ideas that really influences and impacts how we support older people and the programs and policies that support them. And so the Reframing Aging Initiative was launched here in New York City in the spring of last year, really seeing it as an opportunity, knowing that we have a new administration, 70% of the seats back during the election, were open, really seeing it as an opportunity to ensure that aging is at the forefront, both in the policies, but also with the incoming city leaders. And so I'm just going to quickly go over, what is the initiative, why framing matters, going over the swamp of aging, and providing you all with some practical tips that you can incorporate. And so before we begin to talk about reframing aging and ageism, it's really important to understand why framing matters. And so we're going to look at an example of the framing, and we'll kind of see how that really impacts how people understand aging. And so framing is really just a set of choices. And so we're all framing in our communication, how we structure our sentences, how we communicate in our language. And we're doing it both consciously and unconsciously. And so in this next slide, I have a statement both before with advocates and experts, as though imagining I'm saying this to someone. So the primary reason, me taking a step back, that framing matters is that communicators face a big problem. And so we call this the you say, they think problem. And so that's where an expert puts out a message that sounds perfectly, reasonable in the office or when shared with other people or colleagues, but somehow it elicits a different response from the public audience than the one that's actually intended. And so here's a statement that was provided. And on the left, the experts are trying to convince people to support greater public support, for programs that help older people by emphasizing the cost of inaction. And so on the left side, I'll read this briefly. It says, aging populations pose a challenge to the fiscal and microeconomic stability of many societies through increased government spending on pension, healthcare, and social benefit programs for the elderly. This may hurt economic growth and overall quality of life if governments need to divert public spending from education and infrastructure investments to finance programs for the elderly. So imagining this expert or advocate is saying this to the public. However, with that you say, they think idea, the public may interpret this as, I'm tired of all the taxes I pay being used to help other people. I'm struggling too because I'm taking care of my other older family members. People need to stop depending on the government for taking care of their responsibilities. And I need to see benefits now of all those taxes that I'm paying. And so this is an example of, you say something, right, but it's being interpreted in a different way. And so really emphasizing in the reframing aging, how you frame your communication impacts how it's actually being perceived. And so we know that a lot of the negative stereotypes and assumptions is rooted in ageism, right? The discrimination based on aging. And so here on the right, just some examples of what you may hear kind of in your day-to-day of someone may say, I'm having a senior moment, or you look good for your age. These statements, we may not think it's making any impact, or we may think it's a harmless statement, but it's actually reinforcing that ageist narrative. So in addition to ageism, we know these negative stereotypes are also rooted in implicit bias, which are attitudes and stereotypes that we are not aware of. And so these are often, subconscious negative judgments about many things, including aging. But we notice from researchers, when we are aware of our implicit bias, we're less likely to act on those kind of snap judgments, and we're more likely to treat people more fairly. And so that's just a quick overview on why framing matters. And so now I'm going to switch over into navigating the swamp of public understanding. And I'm going to talk just a little bit about, what cultural models are, examine the cultural models that are also found in the swamp. And so cultural models are patterns of thinking. And so researchers identified these patterns of thinking about the aging process, and the role of older people in society. And so we call these assumptions cultural models, and we can really think of them as mental shortcuts or patterns of thinking. And so they really help us process information faster based on expectations that come from our past experiences or prior understanding. However, these patterns of thinking really help us interpret and organize information quickly, but they often sacrifice deeper understanding for efficiency. And these assumptions kind of really get in the way of having those real, deep, engaged thinking about issues like aging. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to stop me. And so I want you to think of your brain less as a fishbowl, but thinking it more as a swamp. And so we're going to use this analogy for the next few slides. And so thinking of your brain as a swamp, right? A swamp is, you know, a rich ecosystem filled with many beautiful things like orchids and birds, but it's also filled with dangerous things like alligators and mosquitoes. And so our mind is filled with these models, right? Those pre-existing expectations. And like orchids, they can be fruitful for the message we send, but models like alligators can be harmful. And so as communicators, whenever we speak or write about, you know, your work on aging issues, you're sending these messages into the swamp filled with pre-existing ideas and beliefs that can really eat away at your message.
Danielle, pick up.
And so I'm going to be showing you a video, and this is a video done by the research institution from the Frameworks Research Institution. And this really illustrates the different kinds of cultural models that people have about aging. And so as you listen and as you watch this video, just take note of some of the comments that people are saying.
When would you say a person is old?
Well, to me, old would be somebody who is over 80.
Probably when they retire, so around 65.
60s.
60s?
50s.
Maybe around 50.
There's a young old, a middle old, and an old old.
It's a mental thing to me. It's not age driven, it's when they start acting old.
What's it like to get older in America?
Well, people are living longer.
I can imagine that people are living a lot longer now.
Unfortunately, as we get older, we start to see our bodies falling apart on us.
They can't do everything by themselves anymore. You know, walking with canes.
They start becoming a little more feeble.
More health problems like strokes, cancer.
More medication, more doctor visits.
Would you say there are advantages to being older?
You get to relax more. Yeah.
Retirement?
'Cause that's when work comes to an end.
Can you think of any advantages to getting older in America?
Not really.
Probably it would be hard for them to adapt to this newer world or new technology and things like that.
Technology-wise, I'm sure it's harder.
Doors seem to be closing a bit as far as opportunities.
I guess as you get older, they want someone who's going to be more vibrant, going to be around, maybe be able to do the work quicker, faster, better.
Seems like the older I get, the less places that they want me to work.
They're alone. Their spouses die.
There's, of course, a lot of folks who are just old and lonely.
What do you think needs to happen for us to do well overall as we get older?
Something needs to be done with Social Security because it's not going to last.
People aren't going to have enough to take care of themselves. From Social Security, I feel like people don't really get that much money.
The Social Security system. You have to get a lawyer in order to get the money that you're owed.
I think you need to keep active, you need to keep moving.
They need to stay active, both mentally and physically.
You got to keep yourself active.
More into fitness too, so they're more active.
Exercise, good diet.
Good eating habits and nutrition, of course.
Taking better care of their health, being proactive.
Just maintaining your health.
I know a lot of old people who are fabulously spry and wonderful.
Our society isn't betting on them as much.
You get disconnected from some of the innovations and the activities that young people are into.
When you don't see them, you don't really think about them, most people.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of out of sight, out of mind.
It's tough to be old.
Oh.
That was depressing.
Forgot I was so any initial, I know every time I play this video for people, it always gets a reaction. So any immediate thoughts? And we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the swampy language that people were talking about in this video, but any immediate thoughts? I know one person said this is depressing.
Oh, can I say something?
Of course.
Right. So it kind of very interesting when watching this video, but it's something that is common. These are the things that we hear. Sometimes when we hear of older adults, right, words like medication, you know, cane, having a disability, they also think about they have health issues, right? They put more burdens on the healthcare system. So these are the words that we hear of, and these are the words that we are saying they fall under ageism.
And you're hitting the nail on the head of that swampy language that we're seeing, right? A lot of it's being placed on the individual. So that individualistic language, or, the doom as though nothing can be done. So a lot of the cultural models, right? The people that are being interviewed, they don't realize a lot of the implicit bias, right? A lot of our language, when we talk about framing, you do it both consciously and unconsciously. And so the slide that we have up now, this is the challenges, right, at the swamp. So we said before, the swamp has the beautiful parts like the orchids, but it also has some of the not so great parts like the alligators. And so we're really using the swamp kind of as a metaphor of the cultural models on aging. And so with that, I'm going to just quickly go around just some of the language that we heard. And so one that we often see is that us versus them language, seeing older people as an other, as a separate social group, when in reality, we're all aging, right? We're all going through this natural process. And the other thing we saw in the video was the nostalgia and the threat of modernity. One person mentioned, the social security element, the economic challenges of getting older, as well as seeing individualism. I know one person in the video mentioned, you just have to make better lifestyle choices, when in reality, we know it's more than just lifestyle choices to support older people and with programs and policies. And the other thing was solutions, right? That fatalistic, that crisis, that nothing can be done, or that better individualized choices and planning to really support older people. And the last is the ideal versus perceived. And I sometimes use this as some people have the idea of like a superstar older adult, right? This idea that older people may look like one certain thing versus the other, when in reality, older people, it's a diverse demographic of people that it's really not a monolith. We all are faced with different challenges and as well as different opportunities as we get older. And so on the next slide, so we saw the challenges, right, of the swamp, but also remembering that there are a lot of opportunities when it comes to the swamp of aging, and knowing that what surrounds us shapes us. And in order to combat ageism, right, it's a collective responsibility. We all are part of the solution to create really a New York City that supports everyone as we age. And that the problems that older people face, as well as with direct providers, it can actually be solved. And so that's just a quick overview of the swamp. And so now I'm going to pivot and share just some communication tools of how you can start to incorporate this reframing aging into your work. And so the first is just remembering that our words matter, right? So going back to our implicit bias, going back to framing of that you say, they think language, and just remembering that the words that you are using on the day-to-day basis, it may be interpreted in a different way. So trying to incorporate that reframed language. I have a photo on the right side of our one pager. I'll share it with Dan, so you all will have it. You can print it out, kind of keep it on hand so you can do, of course, frame checks for your materials. And also checking your materials if it has any of that swampy language. So shifting away from the silver tsunami or a tidal wave and using more inclusive language. And this is all kind of in the one pager, so you can use this as reference and try to use more affirming language. You know that as we age, we build momentum. And so it doesn't have that dark gloom about the narrative around aging. And the next thing is just being mindful. So in addition to the words that we use, being mindful of the types of images that you use, right? So remembering that older adults in the aging population, it's not a monolith. And so making sure to find images that really represent the diverse and inclusive aging population. And remembering that reframing aging, everything is really rooted in communications. And so we're using communications really as the lever and as the jump off point to ultimately change the policies and programs that support us really all as we age. And similar to before, trying to use more neutral and inclusive language. And so you may notice a lot of people are shifting from, instead of using seniors, to using the language of older adults. And so they noticed when doing research, when using the word seniors, people would often disconnect. So when you'd say the word senior in a conversation or using that in regards to policies and programs, people wouldn't see themselves as someone who is aging. Versus when you use the word older adult or older people, people are more tuned in and they're more likely to see themselves a part of the solution, and just overall as someone who is also aging. And so when you start to use the word older adult, you really shift the pattern of thinking that older people are a part of a separate social group. So kind of going back to that us versus them language. And then on here, I'll share this PowerPoint with everyone so you have this word bank. This is just a list of some words and some phrases that you can start to incorporate into your materials, whether it's your website or if you have one-pagers or whatever communication materials that you have. I do want to emphasize that, with reframing aging, when I talk to everyone, emphasizing that it's the small changes that lead to, or small tweaks that you make in your communications that can lead to big impact. So whether it's, looking through your materials and if possible, taking out the word senior, or if you have that silver tsunami language, swapping it out. So making those small tweaks, you don't have to do this big overhaul of all your communication materials, but making the small tweaks, and you'll see really a shift in both how people communicate, but also just, in our overall language that can ultimately lead to a greater change. And on the next slide, this is just some additional words, but I'll share all this with you also. You'll have it as a copy. And if you'd like to learn any more additional information about reframing aging, you can go to the reframingaging.org website. They have a plethora of materials, research, information. If you'd like to learn more about, how to incorporate into your work, if you have more of a policy background, if you're working on social media, if you're posting on Twitter or Facebook, how to reframe it, if you're, doing a tweet that's within a certain character limit. So it really has a plethora of information that you can use for the different types of work that you have. And this is my contact information. If anyone has any questions, if you'd like to learn more additional information, this was a very short, brief presentation, but there's a lot more information on the different types of narratives, really taking a deeper dive into how you can use the different types of framing to communicate, whether it's more of a social justice narrative, and depending on your audience, we can go deeper into that in the further presentations. But there's my contact information if you'd like to learn anything else. That was a lot of information, so I will pause there if anyone has any questions, comments, or any feedback.
Great, thank you, Brianna. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to present? And I can't really see too.
Oh,
go ahead, Mary Ellen.
I just want to say that was a great presentation. I really enjoyed that, being that I work in the home care industry. It makes you very aware of the words that you use when you're working with aging adults. Because I'm getting there myself. But thank you. That was very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Did anybody else have any questions for Brianna, or any other comments?
I do. If anyone else does. Yeah, I'm just wondering if the material on the website, which I will check out afterwards, that we can share with older adults, because sometimes we're so used to this horrible marketing. I can't stand these insurance commercials and walk-in bathtub commercials and how they treat people. But I'd love to be able to share stuff with older adults. So is there material that sort of helps people understand it, or is that one page something that's shareable? Or
yes, so I call it the quick starter guide. It has on the chart kind of like instead of this language, try this. So on the back page, it has a chart where you can go through your materials, see if you have some of that swampy language, and you're more than welcome to disseminate it to older adults, to other colleagues, whoever it is. It's a public document. So, and I'll circle back with you, Dan, to share it with everyone.
Yeah, that would be great. Maybe we could post it on our website as well, and just have it there as a resource.
Yeah, we'll have to. Our senior resource guide needs training. It's also very old, so after the pandemic, I think we'll rewrite it, update it, and change the language.
Yeah. I think that sounds like a good project.
Hey Dan, I think it's a very good idea to that you want to put it up on our website. I would just ask, it sounds like you're going to distribute her slides with the members of the committee. If you don't mind, kindly share it with me as well.
Sure, what I'll probably do is just ask them to send it to the board, so that way all the board members get it.
That's an even better idea. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, David. Did anyone else have any?
Just a quick thing from Margaret Della, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but Margaret is the chair of our, what do you call it, our diversity committee, our racial equity committee. And I'm just wondering, is this something that can somehow be built into whatever you're working on? Or
yeah, I think Brianna, some of the things we're trying to do in Community Board 8 are to raise the awareness of what each of our standing committees is doing regarding racial equity. So that includes not only topics like for aging adults within the aging committee, but also instances where older adults who might have been typically overlooked, or areas where older adults, especially of color, are underinvested, or if there are particular instances where we can be some more supportive or raise specific issues in our community. Like for instance, you know, one of the things we've been thinking about is perhaps abuse of aging adults. Are people having the same access to information about what could be financial abuse, or something that we've talked about quite a bit in the community, but are there other examples of things that we might be overlooking that we could be highlighting? And we're also trying to look at, okay, where are our budget asks within every standing committee gets to also make a budget ask. So where are some of the investments that we want to make? So I definitely, as you were presenting, Brianna, I was definitely sort of thinking of empathy as you were describing some of the language and how to evolve it, because, I think, I guess as we're all, age is relative, right? It's only as you get older that you start to see like, oh, it's really relative. And then you start thinking about the words you're using about yourself. And then you're like, oh, what are the words that I'm starting to like group other people in? So anyway, long comment short. We were just wondering if there are any additional areas that we should be focusing on, especially as it relates to older adults, Black and brown older adults, either in the Bronx or, broadly speaking in New York City.
And I will say, when you were talking about elder abuse, the Frameworks Institute and the Reframing Aging Initiative, they've actually done a lot of research on how to incorporate that reframing aging, depending on your audience, whether you're talking about elder abuse. How does that communication look if you're talking to a policymaker versus an older adult or just someone in the public? So on the Reframing Aging website, they actually have a number of documents, whether it's research, whether it's how to use language in that. Definitely check that out. And also, in regards to who you're talking about, whether it's people of color, unfortunately, I couldn't, go into too much detail, but definitely shoot me an email, because kind of going a little bit deeper, we talk about some of the types of narratives. So if you're talking to someone, whether it's elder abuse, or how do you talk about reframing aging through a social justice lens? So how you frame it may look a little bit different, whether you're trying to create more of a building the momentum kind of narrative. So it looks a little bit different. So I can also share some of that materials with Dan. They're just additional one-pagers. I think they might be helpful, but there's also more information on the Reframing Aging website on, how to cater to a specific audience.
Okay, that'd be great.
This is
okay, does anybody have?
Yeah, this is Julie from RSS. I know we have very consciously, thank you, Brianna. We have very consciously tried to look at what's the language we're using. And one of the, I call blessings of the COVID, even though it gave us lots of challenges, we also saw the incredible resiliency of older adults and our members. Just when, things got the most dire, we were always given opportunities to engage our clients and the resiliency. So again, I think it's an opportunity for us to highlight that older adults, as they move forward, they're resilient. And yes, people will have health challenges and other issues going on, but I think if we can make a concerted effort to focus on hope and resiliency and, do that across all of our programs. So thank you, Brianna. That was very helpful.
Thank you, Julie. Did anybody else have any questions or any comments that they'd like to make? Okay, well, Brianna, thank you again for coming out. This was very helpful and very useful. And obviously, it's something that we need to think about and again, disseminate and get the ideas out to, the general community about, even just little things that they say which, need to be changed. So thank you, Brianna. We really appreciate you coming out today.
Of course, thank you.
And we're going to move on with our agenda after. But Brianna, did you want to say something else? I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Sorry.
Okay. So I was just saying that we're going to move on to the next item of our agenda right now, and that's updates from our senior center providers. Julie, I know that you're there, obviously. Would you like to start?
Sure, I'll start in. I have a board meeting after this, so I will have to hop off the meeting a little early.
Yep.
We're still operating at 25% capacity. Because of the Omicron variant, we stopped congregate dining, but we are doing grab and go. Our virtual programs are taking off, gangbusters. We do about 50 virtual programs a month. We are doing on-site programs. One of the challenges we're facing is with our social adult daycare. We're very anxious to bring that back in person, but that is still virtual. So I think an unintended consequence of COVID is that we're not giving respite to our caregivers, we're giving them more stress trying to do social adult daycare virtually. But I think, we're determined that we're going to get through this. We were awarded a new contract with the Department for the Aging as a result of that RFP. So we're very excited about being able to do that and forming partnerships in the community. So I'd like to say that we are thriving.
Yes. Well, thank you, Julie. Appreciate that. Miriam, I know that you're there. I've seen your name as well. Would you like to give us an update?
Yes, MJHS Hospice and Palliative Care has been operational throughout COVID with many, many challenges, but people have been getting services, some of them by telehealth, which was authorized by the state, but nonetheless support, and also field staff going to people's homes. Of course, people who are on hospice support in facilities are being taken care of, although there are additional challenges with staffing. Healthcare providers themselves are getting sick or have been exposed to COVID and cannot come in. So that's across the whole healthcare field. What I personally have been doing a lot with some of my colleagues who speak Spanish and Chinese is we're offering virtual free presentations on advanced care directives, on legacy building. We're telling them what is available to them, what the insurances cover, and we're encouraging them to plan ahead for a future, whether the future means you're going to live till 120 or whether the future means it's going to be limited. But we are trying to empower them and to plan ahead for the future as they live in the present.
Gotcha. Well, thank you. Thank you, Miriam. Sharon, I saw that you were there as well. Sharon, are you still there?
I'm here. Hi, I missed a couple of meetings. I'm very glad to be back, and hopefully I'll be more consistent moving forward. I'm also really happy to see all these people. I remember when we had aging committee meetings where it was 4 or 5, and it's great to see 20 people on the screen. Really wonderful. As far as the older adult center, I guess we're thriving or heading in the right direction. We're open for lunch. We have a smaller group than pre-COVID, but we do have 35 or 40 people coming every day for lunch. We're also doing another 20 grab and goes, and we're still delivering for our Meals on Heels program to 40 people in the community. We're doing some on-site programming, some virtual programming, some hybrid programming, and we're just trying to keep everybody engaged. The other thing I think I shared with everybody is that the Riverdale Y took over the AmPark North, and we are slowly staffing up that program. So we hired 2 new social workers and still have 1 part-time vacancy. And so we're actually getting to the point where the NORC will be fully staffed, and Bella, our colleague, can have some breathing room, and she'll probably pop into some of these meetings also.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Okay, I think that's the updates from our providers. Did anybody have any questions for any of our providers? Okay, thank you everybody for providing an update for us. The next item on our agenda, I believe, is the approval of minutes, and I apologize for getting a little bit backlogged. The first month that we have to approve would be the month of September 2021. Does anybody have any comments or additions or questions about those minutes? Okay, if there's no comments or questions, I'd like to put it to a vote for all. Does anybody vote against those minutes? Is there anybody? Okay. Anybody who would like to abstain from approving those minutes? Okay, it sounds like we're all in agreement. The next month, we didn't have a meeting in October, would be November 2021. So are there any additions, corrections, anything that we'd like to change on those minutes? Okay. Is there anybody who would like to vote against those minutes? Is there anybody who would like to abstain from those minutes? Okay, the November minutes are approved unanimously. The last month for us to do would be December 2021. Does anybody have any additions or corrections to those minutes? Okay, does anybody want to vote against those minutes? Does anybody want to abstain from those minutes? Okay, so all in favor. So we're done with our minutes right now. We're all up to date. The next item on our agenda is any outstanding business or new business. If anybody would like to raise any issues, outstanding or new, please jump right in. Let us know.
Dan, this is Lee Chong.
Yes.
I just
Hey,
want to.
Lee, how are you?
Okay. I just want to give you an update. I got, well, everyone should know by now that DOT has approved the installation of a traffic light at the corner of K Park and Johnson Avenue.
Yep. Excellent. Yes.
On behalf of the Social Action Committee of RSS, I wrote a letter to the commissioner. I spoke by email and telephone with the Bronx Borough Commissioner, who said he will be on top of it and get back to me.
Okay.
Spoke to Rebecca Zach, who is the Director of Communication Policy, and we actually did telephone tape, but I let her know what we wanted, and bottom line is we want it done sooner than later. So I'm waiting to hear from the agency.
Okay. Okay, great. You know, Lee, I had seen, you know, it popped up. Somebody sent that there was a sign, like a temporary sign put out there, like a stop sign, but on the floor. I don't know if you guys have seen that yet. Well, I don't know how legal it is. And I don't know if it was like a third party that did it, but I didn't know if you guys had any information on it, but I did see something out there.
What side of the,
It was, oh goodness. It was just before the bottom hill, like the second hill to go down.
oh, it's past where the traffic light would be.
Yeah, it's like right where the crosswalk is on the other side of the street.
Oh, okay. I'll take a look, but not today.
Yeah. Okay. No, too cool today. Anybody else have any reports, comments, questions, items for outstanding or new business?
Just to Lee's comment, Dan, I also noticed somebody put up a sign, one of those signs that say yield to pedestrian and crosswalk.
Yes, that's what I had seen. Yes.
And I saw it for at least one day. I don't know where it went. I don't know how effective it is. I mean, I think it's a good idea, but I'm not sure how effective it is.
And
I remember years.
Dan, it was probably not official, which is why you probably saw it.
Yeah.
Which is why it came to me. But I remember years back, Independence, somebody had put those there by the schools and DOT removed them. So I just kind of wanted to raise that. I'm not sure if DOT removed it or if anyone else did, but you know, it was part of it. Okay, any other items to raise? All right.
Any
I do
other?
want to.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Is this the meeting?
Any item?
Is this the meeting in which we talk about budget asks, or
Yeah.
or we're
Yes.
still waiting?
We could certainly start. We could certainly start.
That is the general schedule for February. For the the CBA committees.
If anybody would like to raise any items that they would like to put in for budget requests, by all means, please raise them for discussion. Does anybody have any recommendations at this moment? And again, it's not the last opportunity, but if you would like to add something, you could certainly raise them now.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
yes.
understand that the mayor wanted to do a 5% peg across the board. I think we should push to not have DIFTA's budget, which is small to begin with, pegged.
Yes.
Correct. Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Absolutely. Would anybody else?
I
like to
mean,
add
is it a
any-
matter of management or is it actually DIFTA's budget? I don't know the size of the agency budget.
It's it's my understanding it's a matter of how much the city gives to the agency.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the money that they get from the city council. It's the city money. It's not government money. It's not the state or the federal. So it's only their budget from the city.
That's
So
it.
then maybe they need to be on the peg schedule.
So
Well, I
last,
think-
I heard, at last month's meeting with the commissioner, the
Right.
provider meeting, she said that they were not gonna take the PEG out of the community, out of the contracted agencies. They were only gonna take it out of the Department for the Aging, out of the actual department. They weren't gonna, in the past some years, when they've had a PEG, they've passed it down to the contracted agencies like the senior centers and Norks, and that they are not going to do that this year. Now, there's another provider meeting with the commissioner this week, and that could have changed. I also heard it was only 3%, not 5%. So if
I
it's up
think
to
it is.
5%, they may have decided differently.
I heard 3% too.
It is 3%. 3%.
Okay. Right, and even so, I mean, DIFTA is not exactly functioning very well. The agency seems to have had a tremendous amount of turnover, staffing shortages. It's probably can use the funds.
And he hasn't appointed a commissioner. I don't think they're going to keep.
We just got a notice saying that the commissioner, they suspect that the commissioner is going to stay on for 6 months or a year.
Oh, yeah? All
Mhm.
right.
Yeah. There was actually a notice from Live On. I think they'll probably announce that formally. The city will probably announce it soon.
Okay. Did anybody else have any other items for budget? Okay, so we start our conversation there. Anything else before we wrap up? Would anyone else like to add anything? Well, then I will say happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Enjoy the evening, and we will see you all soon. Thank you, everyone, for coming out today.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.